I've been saying for weeks and really months on this channel, just like I did in the lead up to the first Wicked movie, that this thing was going to do big numbers at the box office, because even though it's not exactly made for me, or probably for a lot of the people that are the usual watchers of this channel, there's a massive fan base out there for Wicked, for the books, for the musical play, like everything. And so it was no surprise to me when the first Wicked was such a big hit at the box office for what it is. The biggest Broadway musical adaptation we've ever seen at the theaters. $750 million worldwide when it was all said and done. And they had filmed these back to back. You knew part 2 was coming out the very next year. And here it was, and it arrived with a bang. Box office, Wicked for Good opens to record-smashing $147 million in the U.S., $223 million globally. And it is one of the biggest openings that we've seen, period, this year. And not only did it have a stark increase in the U.S., about 35 million more in the United States for the opening, but it also increased internationally, where it was not as big of a hit, where it did not have as much brand recognition, where it didn't have as much success last year when the first part came out. But obviously, they did something right with the marketing, and all those people that liked the first one came back for the second one and more. Universal's Thanksgiving tentpole Wicked for Good opened to a record-smashing $147 million in North America from 4,100 theaters, according to Monday's actuals. Audiences more than embracing the pick, giving an A cinema score and a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. Overseas, it likewise opened to a record-busting $76 million for a global start of $223 million. And when you put these in perspective, when you put these things in perspective and you look at what it did compared to last year when the first part came out, 112 million was the opening domestic. That's up to 147. $50 million internationally is up to about $76 million internationally. Both major increases, both huge increases. Now, what I said for Wicked, what I expected was to have a much bigger opening, but probably a fairly similar run overall. Wicked benefited a lot from good word of mouth last year, where people who maybe they were familiar with it but weren't planning on seeing it or whatever, they heard that people had fun, they heard that people enjoyed it, and they, because of the word of mouth and the FOMO that they got, they went to the theater and had huge fucking numbers all week and then into Thanksgiving. I think we're going to see a bigger drop for the second weekend of Wicked this time around than we did last year. I think the numbers will be similar. I just think the percentage drop from the massive opening is going to be down, because I think this time, a lot of those people that may have watched it in the following week or two, I think they went opening weekend. And my guess, right, when you look at this and you realize that 70% of women were the ticket buyers for this, I think that Hollywood, just like they do so often, will learn the wrong lesson from the success of Wicked. Because look, it's not a movie that's made for me. And I think the second one, much like the second act of the musical, is weaker than the first one. It's not as fun. The music isn't as good. But I think that Hollywood, as they usually do, will learn the wrong lesson from this. The lesson that you should learn from Wicked being such a big success is similar to the one they had for Barbie. That when you make movies for women that are based on female IPs predominantly, you can have a lot of fucking success, because there are a lot of women out there that will go to the movies. There are a lot of women out there that might love this thing or that thing that might go to the movies. But what you shouldn't do is try to feminize male properties and say, hey, look at the spending power of women out there. Look at how many women are going to the theater for Barbie and for Wicked. You know what we should do? We should get those women into the theater for a Predator movie. We should get those women into the theater for Star Wars. We should feminize our other franchises, other massively popular IPs that are male-dominated IPs. Because I can tell you one thing. If they had decided to take that approach, the same approach that Hollywood has taken with all of their fucking IPs over the last decade plus, the male-dominated IPs, and say, we need to turn this into a female property. If you had done that, if you had tried to make a masculine Barbie movie or a masculine Wicked movie and make it for men, you know what would have happened? Not only would the men probably not have showed up, but the women wouldn't have either, because now that property is not the thing that they like. When you have something like Wicked that has a massive fan base that is predominantly female, of course you should make it for that audience. And what, some other people show up and some other people like it? Yeah, probably. But you should focus on your core audience. That's the lesson they should learn. Make more things for women that should be for women, and make more things for men that should be for men and have traditionally been for men. And if women or men like one thing and the other, that's great too. That's awesome too. But when you start to alienate your core fan base, it's not going to fucking work for you. So it's no surprise to me that Wicked had such a big opening because it does have a dedicated fan base. It has this long run and so many people that have seen it over the years. Of course, they wanted to see a fairly good adaptation of that musical. That's the lesson that Hollywood should learn. Maybe there's differences between men and women. Maybe you should start listening to your core audience instead of trying to make these franchises for people that in general are not interested in them. So Wicked, massive opening weekend. I expect it to have a solid Thanksgiving. It'll probably drop more percentage-wise than we saw for the first one, because I think there was just so much more front-loaded this time because so many people were excited for it and didn't wait for the second weekend like we saw the first time around. And at the end of the day, I expect it's probably going to make a similar overall number, somewhere in that $750, maybe $800 million range. I think that's where it will end up when it's all said and done, which is a big financial win, certainly. But let's hope that Hollywood, for once in their fucking lives, learn the right lesson from this.